In the first round, acquired by San Jose in a big deal, which saw Charlie Coyle go to the Wild in a first-round pick. But it's right now, big edge as your local Toyota dealers brings you the scouting report on San Jose's Brent Burns, and the edge goes to them. And look at his point totals and how they progressed. And remember, he used to be a forward and a defenseman, as we spoke of, but the later years of Todd McClellan, Moore, Doug Wilson always wanted him to be a defenseman. Todd thought he could be a little bit of both, but he really credits Pete DeBoer, Bob Bugner for helping his career become what it is, and a stabilizer back there. And a huge man for the San Jose Sharks as Burns brings it in on the carryover penalty to Gus Nyquist, who's in the box and has both goals in this game. And San Jose is working on their fourth power play. Marchenko for Nielsen. Past the linesman and down the ice, stopped by Jones. Logan Couture. Pavelski. Couture chopped at Miller. Marlowe up there for the Sharks as well. Brendan Smith in the back end with Eriksson. Eriksson took Thornton to the boards. It's in skates. Marlowe moved it back. And ahead it goes for Glendening. Nyquist out of the box. Glendening to the goal! Save made and a penalty upcoming. Cross-checking the call. Good.
I said it over and over and over again that we were good enough to win. And voila, here we are. You got to really want it. I know we're banged up. Everybody's banged up. This is the group we're going to walk out of this locker room and win playoff games. You need to make plays. We need others to step up and make plays. And we've got to attack. We're in attack mode. Let's go!
Well, hello and welcome everyone to the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show here on CSN, presented by Wintrust. I'm Layla Rahimi, joined by Mr. IHSA himself, Dave Bernhardt from IHSA TV. He will be calling games here on CSN throughout the postseason. And of course, our resident bracketologist enjoying his busiest week of the year so far, Steve Susie from the Kankakee Daily Journal. Gentlemen, thank you. And we begin with a quick opening thought, Dave.
You know, we're going to reveal, 256 teams here in a little while. But there's a bunch of teams that are usually here that are not here tonight, nor will they be in the playoffs. How about Mount Carmel, Joliet Catholic, Providence? They combined for 35 state championships. They have not made it. First time since 1979 that none of those teams are in the state playoffs. And Steve, when three teams like that are not in the playoffs, that opens the door for some others.
And there were a lot of stories. There were a lot of teams that opened themselves up and gave themselves an opportunity to get into the playoffs, even if long odds stood against them. There were 71 4-4 teams entering this week, and a lot of them were facing teams with better records. Teams like Red Hill, Normal West, Dunlap, Sycamore, Kewanee all fought those odds and fought themselves into this 256-team field.
Gentlemen, thank you. We look forward to hearing your expertise throughout the night. Of course, it is a 2-hour show, and we're going to have some fun. Also anchoring our coverage tonight, another Mr. IHSA himself, Matt Rodewald. Good evening, Matt. And give us a quick rundown of what you and your terrific crew have in store for us tonight.
This is always the fun part, Layla, because we get the chance to digest all 8 classes with mounds and mounds of notes. And we will talk with a panel of writers, broadcasters, experts, what have you, all around the state to get a real feel for how each of those classes shakes out, from Class 1A all the way up to Class 8A. And, of course, if you have any thoughts, make sure that you hit us up on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all there tonight. Be sure to use the hashtag IHSA Brackets, and you might see your comments on this show as well. We'll see you in a little while.
Good stuff for sure, Matt. We look forward to what you and your panel bring on this big show as well. And let's begin with a quick refresher on how the field is set. It is the best 256 teams in the state who make the playoffs. Classes are determined after that. Automatic bids are handed out to conference champions if the conference has 6 or more teams. 6 wins also gets you an automatic bid. 5-win teams can also get in via the playoff points tiebreaker. And when it comes to the Chicago Public Schools, only the top 2 from Chicago conferences are eligible. So these are our experts, and they will be giving you expert perspective all night long. So let's get this thing started. Dave, the floor is yours. Let's get it started with the Class 1A brackets of 2016.
I'm going to start it with 32 teams. Here we go. We're going to show them in groups of 4 teams as we go along. We'll start it off with the top-seeded team in the upper side of the bracket. That's Ottawa Marquette taking on Milledgeville. Congratulations to Milledgeville. 0-9 2 years ago. Last year they had their first playoff win ever. Winner of that ballgame will play the winner of Polo and Dakota. Now, I should mention that the top team on each bracket will be the home team here in the first round. Oakwood will take on Ackwen and Hiawatha. Congratulations, a 5th seed, 7-2. That's great in itself, but that ends a 29-year drought, the longest absence of any team in the playoffs, and you will host Leroy. We move along through the bracket. A 9-0 second seed is Forreston. They'll be taking on Luther North. Westminster Christian, a couple of 6-3 teams there. They'll have to travel to Stark County. Stockton, another 9-0 team, one of 4 here in the 1A bracket. They'll be hosting Salt Fork. Bureau Valley missed the playoffs last year as a 5-4 team. They will travel to Lena Winslow here coming up this weekend. Down to the bottom half of the bracket in 1A, making their second appearance ever, will be Oblong, their 5-4 mark, taking on Tuscola. Camp Point Central will host Carrollton. Decatur Lutheran 8-1, making their second appearance ever, and they will be hosting Red Hill. Last year's 1A champ, Arcola, a home game with a 7-2 mark, taking on Calhoun. Our final 4 games in Class 1A, St. Teresa, the only loss coming to Tuscola. They'll be hosting Cumberland. Athens, 2A in the quarters last year. They made it to the quarters last year. Will be at Pawnee. Argenta Oriana, an 8-1 mark, coming off a 2-7 record last season. They will be home against Warrensburg. Latham will round it out with Brown County hosting Greenfield Northwestern.
Good stuff for sure as we take a look at all of those brackets. The first one unveiled, and look who we have here watching. It's the team from Hiawatha as they get ready to see where they land in this bracket. Good stuff for sure as we get set to watch it. Kind of a March Madness feel as we get to take a look in.
You know, and I love the Hiawatha angle here. Can you imagine 29 years without a playoff appearance? And here they are finding out that they get to play on here in October and November.
Congratulations, of course, to all of those teams as we look forward to seeing you, and thanks for letting us look in as well. Now joining us, it is the coach of the Argenta Oriana Bombers, Chad Eisenminger. And Coach, your team was 3-15 over the last 2 years, and now you are in the playoffs. So how do you describe your team's turnaround?
You know, I think it's the result of a lot of hard work by this group of seniors that, you know, they took their lumps the last couple of years, but kept working and stuck with it. And now they're playing the, you know, getting the fruits of all that hard work.
Well, Coach, one of the motivating factors this year, you lost a longtime volunteer, Dwayne Rupp, a longtime volunteer, a grad of Argenta Oriana. What sort of motivation did that have for your kids? Decals of his initials all over the place. What's that done for you this season?
You know, it's something that, you know, you don't ever want to have happen to your program. It was a big shot to the coaching staff and the kids. Coach Hupp had been there since my first year, you know, stepped in when I needed all the help in the world and was kind of my ties to the community. You know, the kids have really rallied around that, and there's no doubt in my mind that he's been looking over our shoulder and helped us out in some big times.
Coach, obviously you've had some struggles in past seasons, but this season it seemed like you got off on the right foot almost from the get-go. How important was that for you to get a snowball effect kind of going and have your kids believing that they could be a really successful team this season?
You know, I think it started, you know, a lot of these kids were JV kids and had some success the last couple of years. And I've always thought that success breeds success. So I thought they've taken that winning attitude into varsity football. And like I said, and the big key was getting off on the right foot, you know, and that second week 2 win against Central A&M, who's a great program and had high expectations. You know, I know they didn't make the field this year. I feel like they're still a very good team. They getting that win really kind of springboarded us in the rest of the season.
Well, if you're talking about springboarding, how about last night? A come-from-behind win. You were in the playoffs to begin with, but you get that 7-2 mark, come from behind. What kind of push does that give you now going into this coming weekend?
It was huge. You know, the LSA game, I felt was a little bit of a letdown for us. We didn't play our best game, but that's a great team, and they get all the credit in the world. We needed to get our momentum going the right direction again, and that win against Cumberland, who's a quality team with, wow, I mean, you look at that team, they had a bunch of athletes and did some good things. And fortunately for us, our kids came together in the second half and finished the game, and we ended up on top and got a home game, and we're looking forward to it.
Bombers coach Eisenminger, thank you so much for getting us started here on the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show. Congratulations to your team, and thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Thank you.
Fun stuff for sure. As we take a further look at those brackets now, Steve, Ottawa Marquette roared through 9 games, but there was some question regarding the strength of that conference. So how good are they in your opinion?
Well, sometimes it's hard to tell with a locked conference team like Ottawa Marquette, basically meaning that they don't play any non-conference games during the season. But this team didn't fool around. They scored 476 points this season, and the closest anyone came in their league to getting a loss against them was 22 points. So they did exactly what they could do in their league schedule. So a very impressive slate for them and the way that they went about it. So they obviously are a team that has to be reckoned with in this bracket.
You know, let's not forget, they made it all the way to the semifinals last year, losing on a late, long field goal, so they came within inches of playing in the state finals. So this is an experienced team.
Yeah, obviously it's a team that's put together some successful seasons here in succession, and that's something that you need to have when you're heading into a playoff field that's as loaded as this one.
Gentlemen, thank you. And for more on the 1A bracket and some of the matchups that we could see down the road, let's send it over to Matt Rodewald and company, guys.
Got some people here to chat with us a little bit. Brought some friends along, of course, no doubt about it, to break down these small classes from Class 1A to Class 4A. Let's meet them from Channel 1450 in Springfield, Zach Kirkert. He joins us. And from Quad Cities Dispatch Argus, Dan McCarowitz. I got it right. And from the State Line Sports Hub in Rockford, Matt Nestor is back with us for this year. Okay, boys, let's break it down. First, Matt, I want to go to you. Forreston, first unbeaten season since 1988. Stockton also ran the table on the other side of the NUIC.
Yeah, you know, anytime you can go undefeated in the NUIC, that's a good year. You know, A.J. Christensen, he's a home run hitter for them. He makes up for a lot of mistakes that their offense might make. Their defense has been really good this year. 4 shutouts, and they've only given up more than 7 points once this year, and that was in week 2 when they gave up 13.
Stark County was 6-3. They're at home again, and they made a long run last year. Can they do it again?
Yeah, they went to the state championship game in 1A, have won 5 consecutive games after a 1-3 start with losses to Elmwood, Brimfield, Mercer County, and 1 Weathersfield. And those 5 wins outscored opponents 211 to 44.
You see these brackets right here, and there's Stockton at 9-0. And Lena Winslow, as we all know, is made with bits of real Panthers, so you know they're really good. Zach, let me ask you, Tuscola and Arcola on the other side, can we see the Cola War set up for the quarterfinals? You can't help but notice it.
We wanted it last year. We didn't get it because Tuscola fell in the second round. Arcola obviously went on to win the state championship. I think that was a team of destiny last year. It's going to be hard for them to have a follow-up to that act. Tuscola, though, salty. They beat St. Teresa, very good St. Teresa, 33-14. That was a dominant performance against that St. Teresa team.
That St. Teresa team has been #1 most of the year. Also, Athens pretty good.
Yeah, that's a matchup in the second round. The 3 teams in the South are Tuscola, St. T, and Athens. To me, Jacardia Wright, who is a sophomore running back with an Iowa offer already for St. Teresa. Ryan Knox, probably the best Athens team that he's had so far. He plays in the Sangamo. There's a 2A team in the playoffs and 3 3A teams in the playoffs that they've played against this season. They are battle-tested. 2A quarterfinals last 2 years, as Dave said. They're down into 1A. That's a good draw.
I grew up north of I-80, and I know one Calhoun alum, Aaron Kern, loving that, seeing what the Calhoun folks are going to be doing. Bureau Valley also back for the first time in 6 years. That North bracket looks tough, no doubt about it. Layla, back to you.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Good stuff for sure as we start the show. How about that? And we are going to take our first time out here on the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show. On the way, it is the Class 2A brackets and St. Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joe Aurelio.
Joe Aurelio has this pizza coming for you. How about that? Good stuff for sure. Who doesn't like Aurelio's pizza? Now, that's taking a partnership with the IHSA to a new level, gentlemen.
Bring it on. I mean, like right here on.
Yeah, we'll take that any day of the week. We have more, so much more coming up. Stay with us.
I see a football with bat wings.
I see a wizard. That's his nose.
I see Lake Michigan.
Lake Superior.
Oh. Yeah. I'll give you that.
I see a wall.
Keep your walls looking like new with Platinum's No Prep, No Prime formula with easy clean, stain-resistant finish. Menards and Dutch Boy make transforming your world easy. Go Dutch.
I really like what you're doing with this dream.
I dream about finding this closet every night.
Try Realtor.com. It has more homes for sale than any other site and updates constantly.
So, I could find a closet like this?
I already did it for you. I feel like you're not paying attention. Dream home, find home, own home. Realtor.com.
Scalpel.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just a TV doctor. I never went to college.
I don't do blood. But now, thanks to Cigna, I can do more than just look the part.
Is that a foot?
We are the TV Doctors of America.
And we're partnering with Cigna to help save lives.
By getting you to a real doctor for an annual checkup.
So go, know, and take control of your health.
Doctor poses.
Cigna, together all the way.
I'm 7-time Pro Bowler Lance Briggs, and Tuesday nights just got a whole lot more interesting. Tune in for my take on our Bears every week. Because no matter what happens, you know that I'm going to have something to say. Don't miss the Lance Briggs Show, Tuesday at 11 on CSN Chicago.
Next Saturday night on CSN, it's finally time for some regular season ball as Jimmy Buckets and our Bulls lace them up against Paul George and the Pacers. Coverage begins at 6 with a 1-hour edition of Bulls Pregame Live, presented by Coors Light on CSN.
Hey, how's it going? This is Cameron Meredith from the Chicago Bears. I want to give a big shout out to the St. Joseph Chargers out of Westchester, Illinois. I'm a proud alumni and want to wish you guys good luck in the rest of the season, and you guys go big.
How about that? Cameron Meredith, the former quarterback, and they are in the playoffs, his alumni or his alma mater for the first time ever. It is great stuff. That said, welcome back, everyone, to the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show. Alongside Dave Bernhardt and Steve Susi, I am Layla Rahimi, and we are unveiling the playoff matchups, Class 1A through 8A. And as we keep moving through, if you miss one of the brackets or want to take a look at any of the classes that we have covered, just head to IHSA.org to catch up. And Dave, take us now through the Class 2A bracket.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cam Meredith, you don't have to wait long to see your alma mater. We see at the top, Newman Central Catholic taking on Clifton Central, but there it is, St. Joe, the Chargers, never a winning record. We'll talk more about them in a little bit, but you've got a home game against St. Bede. Deer Creek, Mackinac, DMAC losing a classic battle with Tri-Valley last night. They pick up the number 4 seed hosting Orion, and then it's Knoxville hitting the road, taking on Hope Academy. Our second set of 4 teams in Class 2A looks like this. Anawan Westfield with an 8-1 record taking on West Prairie. Gibson City, Melvin Sibley at 7-2. They'll be hosting El Paso Gridley. Eastland Pearl City, 2-7 last year after being unbeaten state champs in 2014, home against Rockridge. And then Fulton, a 7-2 mark, only the second time in 10 years for Fulton. They have not had a playoff win since 2001. They'll be home against Moments. To the bottom half of the bracket we go, and there is Tri-Valley, your 2A state champ from last year. They had that win over DMAC last night. We'll open it up against Rushville. A couple of 7-2 teams, DuQuoin and Redbud. Then it's El Dorado at 8-1 record. They'll be home against Flora, first time in for Flora since 2009. Maroa Forsyth, the dangerous 5 seed at 8-1, hosting Johnston City. We'll wrap it up in Class 2A. Unity Payson last year picked up their first playoff win ever, home against Illini West, and Shelbyville will travel to Carmi-White County. West Hancock, a 9-0 mark, one of 4 9-0 teams in this bracket, hosting St. Thomas More. And we'll wrap it up in 2A with Sangamon Valley hitting the road, taking on Bismarck Henning.
Dave, thanks again for that announcement of the Class 2A brackets. Joining us now, it is Unity Payson coach Kevin Krietmeyer. Coach, your team is in the playoffs, and it was a no-doubter with that impressive record. 2 years ago, your team didn't win a game. How has the culture changed on your squad?
Oh, it's been amazing. The kids have really bought in and worked extremely hard, as any of these playoff teams do. They all work extremely hard, and it's been very – I don't know how to explain it. It's been amazing. I'm very proud of our kids and our community.
Coach, obviously some dominant performances for you in a Western Illinois Valley Conference that's a pretty deep one. But when it comes right down to it, I mean, you're stepping up to 2A in the playoffs, and most of your opponents in the playoffs in your conference are 1A teams. Do you feel like your team is ready to make that step up for the playoffs now that we're here?
Oh yeah. I mean, you're talking about Camp Point Central, Brown County, Carrollton, Troy. I mean, we're talking about some of the top 1A schools in the state of Illinois. So we are battle tested. You know, we come out and pound the football at you, and then we go and we play a lot of 7-on-7. You know, we saw Rochester this year. We saw Sacred Heart Griffin. We saw Jackson. So we've seen some extremely good football teams that can throw the football, and
and that's what we do. But we also see some great teams throughout the year that run the football. So we'll be ready to go. We'll be excited.
You know, and that's where I wanted to go next, Coach. I wanted to talk about that offense. We're seeing highlights of your team right now, but the offense that you've drawn upon from all these other schools, when you look at your school, it's a small school. How do you adapt to the talent that you have in your building?
Of course, we're built around our core offensive line, but we have to have a quarterback and throw the football. We're truly blessed. We have a kid that's be a second-year starter, Brody Dunker. He's thrown for 2,000 yards this year, he threw for 2,000 last year. We're blessed. We have an extremely amount of talent here in a small school. It's, one of those rare finds, So we're blessed to have some great athletes, and what we're able to find this year is that we've not a whole lot of teams that can match up with us. And so we've been able to take advantage of it.
Coach Kevin Krietmeyer, we thank you so much for the time. Congratulations to your squad. Good luck in the playoffs.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having us on. Thank you.
Now, gentlemen, now that we know that they are moving to St. Joe's in the playoffs for the first time ever, is that the story of the year in the state?
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you look at what's happened in the past and you think to yourself, St. Joe. I mean, Dave, when I say St. Joe, what's the first thing you think of in high school athletics?
Gene Pingatore basketball.
Absolutely. Isaiah Thomas, Evan Turner, players of that caliber. And no offense to what the football team has done, but, I mean, obviously that's what you think of when you think of St. Joe. You think of a basketball school, but obviously have made huge strides this year, gone from a program that historically would struggle to win more than a couple of games a season, and the best season they've ever had to date was a 4-5 year back in 2000. So obviously a watershed year for that program.
They had 5 straight years where they did not win a game, and now you're talking about hosting a playoff game. It is absolutely remarkable. You talked about with Kevin Krietmeyer the culture change. Same thing as St. Joe's. We're a basketball school. No, wait, we're going to be a football school this year.
Fun stuff for sure, and that culture change just being so amazing to watch. It really is a great story for sure, gentlemen. Now, with more on the 2A bracket and what we can expect to see between certain matchups, let's send it back over to Matt Rodewald and his crew.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we get to our 2A picks here, that St. Joe story is great, but you see all these footballs here, you wonder, what are all these footballs doing here, just sitting on a table on a tee ready to be kicked through the uprights? Well, our friends over at Wilson Sporting Goods are headquartered here in Chicago. They were nice enough to be a part of our state champion selections that we'll have here as we finish up here, class 1A through 4A. So each one of us has picked a class. We're going to do that nice and organized for this year. So Wilson Sporting Goods, the official ball of the IHSA, and proud to have the Wilson GST football for the state championship and for every playoff football game. Let's start with 2A, guys. Tri-Valley is where we're going to go first. Any contender in the South to deal with Tri-Valley?
Yeah, certainly. Tri-Valley led by Jared Reese at fullback in that triple option. He's a guy who is hard to stop, but I'm looking ahead to a Maroa Forsyth Tri-Valley potential quarterfinal matchup there. Similar in the fact that these are smaller teams, fast teams, teams that hit hard. That could be a really exciting quarterfinal matchup.
Switch back north, Matt. I like EPC as one of those sleeper teams after a 1-8 season after a state championship a year before that.
Yeah, now they're right back at 8-1. You know, they're really a year ahead of schedule. They rely on a lot of juniors and sophomores that played last year as freshmen and sophomores, but they do have a few key seniors like Keegan Schubert at running back who's been really good
But
this
keep
year.
an eye, Rockridge, that's not a very easy first-round matchup for them. Rockridge has lost 2 in a row, but their 4 losses this season have been to Newman, Orion, Fulton, and Kewanee, all playoff teams.
That Newman team, how good is it? We've seen a lot of 9-0 Newman teams before.
It's keeping up the tradition. They have wins against 5 playoff teams. Closest game of the season was 8 points on the road at Fulton, but 9-0, they're going to be a tough out in 2.
4 9-0 seasons since 2010. You like West Hancock, don't you?
Jim Unruh is the offensive coordinator there. You probably remember that name because he led Carthage and Illini West to 6 total state championships back in the day. They're 9-0 and in this conference, and with him at the helm, offensive coordinator-wise, that's dangerous.
But only have beaten 1 playoff team this entire season, and that came today against Fulton.
You like Anawan as well as a team that can get back to the semis, maybe?
Yeah, they made it to the semis last year. This offense is very balanced with quarterback Bryce Bumfrey, Jackson Mintz in the backfield, Ben Burrish catching passes on the edge. Anawan Weathersfield could be a dangerous team in that north bracket.
Unity is exciting, and I must say it is a great day to be a Mustang, their first ever 9-0 season conference champions. If I've got a homer pick there.
Gloat, 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 all you want, no doubt about it. We've got a couple of classes to go here. As 2 are in the books, we're ready to do a couple more, guys.
Good stuff, Matt. Thanks. And cheering is allowed. Come on. I think we should all be able to have some fun here, shouldn't we?
I cheered Aurelio's earlier. Does that count?
I'm with you. I'm on the Aurelio's team. I think that's fair. All right, so we got 6 more classes to go, maybe some pizza as well. The 3A brackets are next. Once again, congrats. And there's our pizza. We hope you enjoy the pizza from the good folks at Aurelio's.
With Custom Ink, you can design custom t-shirts and other great products for every occasion. From the first day of school to game day and everything in between. With the best collection of styles and graphics to choose from, it's easy to go online and create custom t-shirts and more for all of life's events. Get free shipping and on-time delivery, guaranteed. Go to customink.com to get started today.
How do you maximize your Sunday football experience? The DirecTV Red Zone channel.
We have a full day of football.
With non-stop live coverage of all the action and none of the commercials.
You want to get interactive?
Get every score and then some, all on one screen, every Sunday.
You ready for that?
Including games, next to games, next to games. Even stream it on your favorite devices, so you can watch your team on the big screen and everyone else on the other.
Touchdown!
The Red Zone channel. This fall when you upgrade to NFL Sunday Ticket Max, channel 703, only on DirecTV.
Did you know that the average funeral can cost more than $8,300? I didn't want my family burdened with the cost of my funeral, so I called Final Expense Direct and got a policy of my own. For as little as $1 a day, Final Expense Direct has policies that can help pay the cost of your funeral. Plus, you'll get this free family relief guide. There's no medical exam, and my policy can't be canceled.
Call now for a free quote. Call 800-672-6157.
Visit csnchicago.com for great deals on your favorite team's merchandise. From jerseys and hats to customized shirts and more, get the latest trends for the Bears, Blackhawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox at the shop on csnchicago.com.
Hey, this is Ben Zobrist from the Chicago Cubs. I just want to give my hometown, Eureka High School Hornets, a good luck. Let's get ready for the playoffs, boys. Let's go.
I'm pretty sure he's busy tonight, Ben Zobrist.
That wasn't live?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But we'll
right.
send the good mojo. We welcome you back to the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show. It is presented by Wintrust. We're just getting warmed up here with Class 1 and 2A that have been released on IHSA.org, and we are ready to roll right into Class 3A. Dave, take us away.
This is a power class. There are 8 9-0 teams. You're going to see an 8-1 team on the road. Started off with IC Catholic at 9-0 hosting St. Joe Ogden. Buckley-Alota, Paxton Buckley-Alota home against Mercer County. How about Wilmington? The Wildcats right there in the same quadrant, if you will, with IC Catholic. 9-0 record, Wildcats 33-1 the last 3 years. They'll be hosting Corliss. And then it is Eureka, the Hornets 6-3. You got an undefeated team, though, that you will have to face in the first round in Byron. Move to the next group of 4 games. Farmington, first unbeaten regular season since 1983. Big party tonight in Farmington. They will take on Winnebago. Elmwood Broomfield, 8-1, their only loss coming to Farmington. They will be home against a very hot Bloomington Central Catholic team. Westville 9-0, yet another 9-0 team. You see the 3 9-0s just in this group of 4 games. They'll be home against Marine Military, first time they have ever made the playoffs. And Monticello, that perfect record, be hosting Clark. We head to the bottom part of this 3A bracket. Newton, yet another 9-0, again, one of 8 9-0 teams, home against Auburn, second last year in Class 2A. Payne is having a party at the fire station. Tonight, they'll be home against Marshall. There's your 8-1 team that has to play on the road. It's Carlinville, only a 2-point loss to Pena, marring their mark at 8-1, taking on East Alton Wood River. And then Williamsville, another very, very good team down there, home against Hillsboro. We'll wrap it up with Cesar-Valier headed to unbeaten Mount Carmel. Vandalia home against Tolono Unity. North Mac, their only loss coming last night. They'll be home against Beardstown. How about Beardstown? 0-9 each of the last 2 seasons. In the midst of that, they had a 24-game losing streak. You are in the playoffs. And then it's Fairfield home against Anna Jonesboro.
Well, Dave, once again, thank you for the brackets. And now joining us on the phone, it is IC Catholic's head coach, Bill Kreft. And Coach, not only has your team recorded 6 shutouts, but it has also scored 34, 56, 72, 50, 50, and 49 points in those games. That is a new level of domination. So what unit has impressed you more, Coach, your offense or your defense?
Oh, I don't know if I can make that decision. I think that they're equally impressive on both sides of the ball. Our kids are a special group of kids who just kind of embrace the roles. A lot of people are playing both sides of the ball anyway, so I don't know if I can pick one or the other.
Well, I'm going to make you pick one of your players right now to talk about, and that, of course, is Jordan Rowell. Tell us about that young man.
Jordan Rowell is a special player. Again, this is someone who has contributed on offense, on defense, and on special teams for us. He's a pleasure to coach, great teammate, somebody who's just special on the football field. He's very explosive. He's kind of come into his own his senior year and really excelled, kind of dominated in each game that he's been in. So it's a tribute to him and the offensive line and our quarterback, Luke Rickaby, and how they're working together and firing on offense.
Coach, I'm going to look back to last year where I saw you lose to Bishop McNamara, last year's state champion in 3A twice. And you have a lot of returners back from that team last year. How did those experiences shape this year's team in regards to what you've been able to do this season?
I think the level of focus that the kids have brought to the table, that's kind of due to our experiences in the past. Getting to the semifinals and being defeated by the 3A state champs twice in the same year really left a bad taste in our mouth. So we really kind of worked in the off season to grow and to get better and to work on the details. Came into this year very explosive and very ready to take on these kind of challenges with Bishop Mac and St. Lawrence at the start of our schedule.
Coach, we'll have the panel talk about this in just a little bit, but I'd like to know from a coaching perspective, what are your thoughts on this entire bracket here in 3A?
I know you keep talking about, it being a power and there's a bunch of undefeated teams. I think you're dead on. I think Wilmington and Byron are very explosive programs that have been there time and again, being in the semifinals last year, Byron, and then Wilmington winning it in the last couple of years. You look at across the board, I think there's strength across the board in the programs there in 3A, and it's going to be an exciting bracket. It's going to be an exciting time to see these playoffs kind of go through the system and run into people and powerhouse program after powerhouse program competing to see who moves on.
Catholic head coach Bill Kraft, thank you so much for the time. Good luck to your team and good insight as well. Thank you.
Thanks for having IC on your show.
Good stuff for sure. And now, Steve, the Monticello Sages sometimes get lost in the shuffle in the Champaign area, but not this year.
Well, this is a team that's had some success over recent seasons and lost a lot to graduation. So people were maybe thinking they'd take a step back. Their response, we'll go 9-0 for the first time since 1991.
One of the reasons we have to feature these people, as you well know, Layla, is the nickname Sages. You cannot pass up talking about a team with Sages, who also, by the way, score about 47 points per game. Pretty good deal.
So you're saying they're a wise team that scores a lot of points. Interesting.
Okay.
But it is something fun to look at for sure, and also deservedly as well.
Yep, 9-0, you can't beat it.
No, and it looks like they've got some company as well, as you well pointed out. Yep. And now that we've taken a look at 3A, we bring back Matt Rodewald. And Matt, what other teams and first-round matchups intrigue you in the panel?
Well, as we look at Class 3A, and we mentioned IC Catholic, we'll talk about their road and what they have to go through here in just a moment. But they only have to deal with Wilmington or Byron. They won't have to deal with both of them. We do know that. Let's start with Zach, because you like the draw for Williamsville. Let's see what's happening with the Bullets.
Yeah, with Monticello going into the north, that's good for Williamsville. Coach Kraft talked about Jordan Rowell, and rightfully so at running back. Jace Franklin is the other 3A running back. Those two may be the two best players in Class 3A. I would love to see those two in a state championship game, and with this draw, I think there's potential that Williamsville could be in that place.
Matt, we know that Byron is a really good football team, yes, but there's Wilmington sitting right there in the second round. Not fair.
You know, and I think whoever wins that game, if they were to match up, I think that's potentially who has the best chance of beating IC Catholic. Byron did beat Wilmington a couple years ago in the playoffs. Byron's a very strong team. There's some questions about their schedule. They only played 2 teams with a winning record this year, Rockford Lutheran in week 2, and then it was Winnebago last night in week 9, who they did beat by 42 points. What they do on offense, they get chunk plays. Justin Martinez had over 1,100 yards this year, and their defense is just really strong. They've just been so good all year long.
All right, so Dan, if Mercer County wins that first round, that means IC Catholic has to go out to Aledo to play them on the road.
And George Pratt Memorial Field is not an easy place to win. Mercer County has won 6 of 7 with their only loss to Anawan Weathersfield in that stretch. Jacob Dell at quarterback, Ben Nichols at receiver. Mercer County is a tough team, but IC Catholic in the second round, that would be a tough game.
Interesting rematch. You like Unity and North Mac to talk about those two teams.
Played in the second round last year. Unity beat them. Unity was supposed to be a world beater this year. Did not play very well early. It's kind of like last year, but then they came in, were very strong, ended up in a state championship game. That is a very interesting quarterfinal matchup potentially, and even down the road, maybe North Mac Williamsville, should we get to that point, is a Sangamo rematch, which North Mac won. That was Williamsville's only loss this season.
I like that Elmwood-Brimfield Central Catholic first-round game.
Yeah.
Central Catholic's only 2 losses to Tri-Valley and to Tolono Unity, and then Elmwood-Brimfield 8-1 only lost to Farmington. That should be a really, really good first-round game.
You look at all these opportunities, and even a chance to see Winnebago, I should say, at 5-4. That's a winnable game for them.
And I tell you, other than their game against Byron last night, they've been very competitive all year, even in their losses. They've been very, very close.
Lots of 7-2 teams, and also EAWR. Of course, they've been on the road, or I should say, they've been 1-8 as of last year. This year, they're in the playoffs for the very first time since 2006. Layla, that is what it's all about.
Guys, thank you so much for your breakdown. We will have more coming up here on the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show. It is presented by Wintrust. We've got 4 more brackets to go and a look at recruiting as well. Stay with us.
Everybody has a flashlight, but can your flashlight do this? Or how about this? The Bell & Howell Tactical Flashlight can. Similar to flashlights used by elite military units, the Bell & Howell Tac Light can do things no ordinary flashlight can do. It's so bright, it can be seen up to 2 nautical miles away. And if that something that goes bump in the night turns out to be someone, only a tac light has a super bright strobe that can stun and disorient would-be attackers. A car battery will stop working in sub-zero temperatures, but even getting frozen in a block of ice couldn't make our tac light stop working. And it'll keep working when fully submerged in water, even 212-degree boiling water. It's tough enough to survive getting run over by a Humvee. Try that with a regular flashlight. Compact and lightweight, it goes where you go, so you can feel safe in dark places at night, or just have the right light for emergency situations. And there's never been a better choice for camping, fishing, or hunting. What else? 5 preset modes. It's made of high-grade aircraft aluminum. The bulb lasts 100,000 hours. I mean, there's just nothing like it on the market today. But this offer won't last long, so here's how to get yours.
Tactical flashlights of this quality are selling right now for $60 or more, but Bell & Howell has slashed their price to just $19.99, and they'll even ship it to you free. Plus, every tac light comes with a lifetime guarantee. And that's not all. Order today and you can get a second tac light. Just pay a separate fee. You can get 2 Bell & Howell tac lights backed by a lifetime guarantee for the amazing price of just $19.99 and get free shipping. Here's how to order.
To get your tac light for only $19.99 and get a second one free, call 1-800-615-7903 or go to trytaclight.com. This offer is not available in stores, so call 1-800-615-7903. That's 1-800-615-7903 or order online at trytaclight.com.
Welcome back to the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show presented by Wintrust. And now let's get to Class 4A and take a look at the 4A brackets. Dave, tell us what's going on.
I will tell you there's 9 teams that finished with a 5-4 record in this particular class, but there's also 5 9-0 teams. Let's take a look. We'll start it off with Herschel hosting a game 9-0 for the Tigers, home against Illinois Valley Central. IVC just 3-15 the last 2 years. Dixon will be on the road, but they're okay with that because it's the first time they've made playoffs in 3 straight years. They'll head to Chicago and South Shore. Here's your 4A champs, Phillips, 8-1. Their only loss coming to Fenwick. They'll be hosting Kewanee. And then Aurora Central Catholic, 8 wins and 1 loss this year. Not won a playoff game, though, in 21 years. We'll see whether this is different this year as they host Wheaton Academy. Interesting matchup to start off the next group of 4. Johnsburg and Marengo. Why is that? Well, yes, Johnsburg 9-0, Marengo 5-4. Johnsburg's been beaten by Phillips the last 2 years in the playoffs, and last year Marengo made it to the semifinals before losing to Phillips. Plano at 7-2. They've got a viewing party going on in their team shed. They'll be playing host to Mantino. Coal City on the road at Genoa Kingston, a perfect 9-0 mark. Then Rockford Lutheran hosting Richmond Burton. In the bottom half of Class 4A, your 4A champs, Althoff at 9-0, taking on, or your 4A second place finisher, Althoff taking on Carterville. Then it's Alton Marquette at 7-2. They'll be hosting a 7-2 team in Taylorville. Mount Zion only 1 loss in the season. Their last playoff win, though, came 5 years ago, home against Richland County. And there's Rochester, 5th seed, 8-1 record, 5 titles in the last 6 years. Home game to start it off against Civic Memorial. Finish it up with 9-0 Columbia, 2 seed, 10-1 last year, perfect 9-0 mark again this year. They'll be hosting Greenville. West Rankford hits the road against Canton picked up a tough loss last night. Heron with an 8-1 mark. They'll be home against Watseka, first time in 4 years for Watseka. And then the bottom game of this bracket, it's Milk Bowl 2. Central winning the earlier showdown this season. They're going to get it on again this coming weekend. What a way to get going in the playoffs.
Well, Dave, thank you again for a look at the brackets. That said, we hear now from Scott Horner, the head coach at Columbia. Coach, your second straight undefeated regular season has your team headed into the playoffs on a roll.
Yeah, thank you. Feeling pretty good about where we're at. Had a really good season, and looking forward to Week 10.
Coach, obviously your offense has been very productive over the last couple of seasons, but the one thing that stood out to me this year is your defense really had to bring it. There were some quality opponents on your schedule that were putting up a lot of points, and your defense really answered the bell for you. How has that unit kind of led things for you this year?
Well, a lot of great senior leadership, and as all coaches know, defense wins football games. It's been a huge focus for us in the off season, and we've been really happy with our production on the defensive side of the ball, and we hope to continue it as we move into the playoffs.
All right, let's turn around. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about your offense. Quarterback Greg Long, your running back Colton Bird, wide receiver Jordan Holmes. Tell us about those guys and why it makes your team so explosive.
I think it's just the having the ability to be able to spread the ball around the field at all times. We feel pretty comfortable. The teams give us the ability to be able to run it, then we'll do it. If they give us the option to be able to throw it, we feel pretty good about that too. So it really just comes down to how defenses want to try to defend us. And we feel like we've got a lot of weapons on the field and guys that can strike quick, which doesn't make us just one-dimensional.
Well, Coach Horner, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations to your team and good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you much. I appreciate it.
Now, Steve Hersher is in as we take a further look at the bracket, and they are a bubble team that just keeps on winning.
Yeah, it was a team that was wondering whether or not they were going to be 3 and 4A, but they just kept on piling up victories. They ended up in the 4A field, and they're dangerous. They have a diversified offense. Quarterback Tyler Jones is a capable runner and thrower. Outside, Tyler Stewart, a big wide receiving target, and a player that their coach recently referred to as the tank, and it's definitely apt with him, is Anthony Caranda, their running back. Just powers through people and really gets the job done. This is a team that hasn't gone undefeated since 1988. And not trying to foreshadow anything here, but that team went to the state championship game, so a good sign for Hersher.
I think Steve just foreshadowed.
I mean, you clicked your pen and everything. Yeah, we've got to write that down. You can't say that in a room full of writers. We're all going to hold you to it.
Well, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
I mean, they're yelling over there on Matt Rodewald's side of the
They can keep yelling if they like. That's fine. I'm not worried about it.
We'll get to them in just a second, but Dave, your thoughts as well.
Yeah, and you talked about the offense. I think what's impressive with a team like Hersher, they've had success, and they had success last year, but the offense, they tweaked it a little bit this summer to match their talent that they had in the building. And I think that's a sign of a coach and a program that's willing to do what it takes to take that next step.
Yeah, their energy level is high, and they just have a lot of weapons. They're the kind of team that can use the run game, they can use the pass game, and they can mix it up and basically do whatever the defense is trying to take away from them.
With more, hopefully, foreshadowing of this 4A bracket, we hear from the Peanut Crew and Matt Rodewald. Hey, guys.
That Hersher team in 1988, I saw them in person in their semifinal win over Geneva to get to that state final matchup against DuQuoin, the first scary high school football team I ever saw in person. Of course, they were all scary at 8 years old. Zach, let's start with Rochester because they sit as a 5 seed. How can they weed their way through the bracket?
Well, it's going to be, I mean, all respect to everybody in 4A. I feel like we've done this every year for 3 or 4 years now. Rochester-Altoff was the best game downstate in the southern portion of the 4A bracket last year. I anticipate that'll be the same. It'll be a quarterfinal this year. Tons of talent. Running back Jalen Bester, 1,572 yards for that Altoff team. But then the wide receivers in this game, Edwin Braun, C.J. Colden, D1 Looks, Jordan Goodwin. Hey, he's going to SLU to play basketball. Everybody knows about him, and that's the Altoff side of the bracket. Colin Stallworth, Avante Deontay Cox out of Rochester. There's just so much D1 talent out at the skill position in this game. If you can get to it, if it happens, go watch this game.
Taylorville is 7-2 going on the road. If they win that one, Altoff's got to go there.
And Taylorville has been salty and good through the Apollo again, but I mean, I like Altoff and I like Rochester.
Let's go north because, Dan, congratulations, Kiwani. You get Phillips right out of the gate. How do you keep that close?
pray. You'd always have to pray with that one. But Kiwani, best season since 1999. Knocked off Rockridge last night, the last second victory. Nick Sheets, quarterback, has a single-season school record, 17 touchdown passes for the Boilermakers, who not too long ago was 0-9.
Man, I like Dixon where they're sitting right there at 7-2, and if they can get a win there, Herscher comes to them. Yep. Also, you got Genoa, Kingston, and Lutheran up north.
Yeah, you know, Lutheran's been on a roll. They've won 7 straight going into the playoffs behind dual-threat quarterback Peyton Womack. He's been really great this season, but one of their losses was week 1 to Genoa, Kingston, where they lost 32-30 after Luther missed a field goal there at the end of the game. You know, Genoa, Kingston, led by the Zach attack. Zach Miller, Zach Butler.
I really can't control anything that's happening up here.
You know, they have been great this year, week after week. They run the ball in, they return kicks. A couple of games ago, they won $10,000 for a fan by returning a kickback. They just do it all. Last 5 games of their defense also only giving up 7 points a game.
Very good. You have to have that defense. It's weird. Defense wins games.
That's right.
The Saved by the Bell generation. What can I do about that?
83?
It's not 83. That was much later than 1983. Okay. I will say that. All right. It's time to do our picks. So let's grab our football, our selection. My hands are small, but I can grab it with one hand. How about that? All right. So first off, we're going to start with Class 1A. Who has Class 1A first up?
Right here. I'm going to go kind of an easy pick. Douglas County, I-57. Going to go with the Tuscola Warriors.
There you go. Tuscola to win Class 1A. Class 2A now.
I think that the winner comes out of the South. I think it comes down to Maroa and Tri-Valley. Tri-Valley is the Kings because they won last year. So
there it is.
On camera 1,
Tri-Valley Vikings.
Tri-Valley.
Go back to it. Matt has quite possibly the easiest pick of them all. What do you think?
But you're a heavy favorite for a reason. I'm going to go with IC Catholic.
All right, and I'm going to go in Class 4A. I'm going to go with Johnsburg to see if the Skyhawks can get sky high in November for the school's first ever state championship in school history. Johnsburg's so close. They've had so many good teams, and we'll see if they can get to the promised land this year, guys.
I mean, did I hear a Saved by the Bell reference?
You did. A few of them, yes.
Yeah, we had that. We had foreshadowing. So, gentlemen, you have a football. Let's go.
Steve, I'm a big believer it's tough to beat a team twice in 1 year. And I think one of our guys over there doesn't quite get that concept.
Well, I think the one thing that when I'm looking at this football right here, I think people tend to forget Rochester won a whole bunch of state championships prior to last year, and everybody was like, Rochester's the king. Rochester's the king. How quickly we forget. Rochester's not too bad.
Nor is Decatur St. Teresa in 1A. And there is Rochester.
Yeah, and we're sitting there, we're talking about Decatur St. Teresa as well, but it's one of those situations where we have a team in St. Teresa that has done a lot, and everybody's looking at that one loss to Tuscola, and they're saying, well, they probably can't win the state championship because Tuscola's still there. Don't forget about them. They're an awfully good football team.
Gentlemen, we thank you for your picks. Now, I have to go back to you, Matt, and your crew. What do you guys think of this announcement?
St. Teresa's #1 team that we saw throughout the state throughout much of the season. Forston kind of took over that. What do you think of that?
I think Forston will have a lot to say about who wins a Class 1A title. They have just been so strong this year. Their wins at EPC on the road and against Lena Winslow were just as good as you can see. I also think Lena Winslow is a very dangerous 2-loss team down there.
Do you like Sterling at all to make a nice long run in Class 5A, at least when we get to 5A?
Yes, very good offense, very, very good offense, explosive, diversified offense. Had a big win at DeKalb last night, DeKalb is very good, has a very good quarterback.
The reason I bring that up is because Sterling's 9-0, Newman's 9-0. You got 18-0 in the town of Sterling, not bad.
I think that's good.
Angelo's Pizza is going to be celebrating down there.
It's good. Be busy down there to have some scheduling issues for sure. And those game times are already starting to come out on Twitter. Isn't it a wonderful thing, social media guys?
We do what we can around here, that is for sure. Steve, just hold on to the football.
Well, you know what? I want to take issue with Dan for a second.
Oh!
Yeah, Dan.
There's more.
You can't be holding the ball like this. You've got to tuck it.
Brett, it's hard. He never stops coaching.
Coach Canella, QND would have been a little upset with me on that.
That's a slick sweater vest.
It's hard to hold it up there.
Sweater vest.
I mean, he is right for a turnover there, isn't he? Yeah, come on.
I'm not going to mess with him.
I want to know how many footballs we have over here. Okay, so 4 down, 4 to go. The big schools are next. Here are the guys from Beardstown. They're a 14 seed in 3A taking on North Mac. Good stuff. We will be right back.
I see a football with bat wings.
I see a wizard. That's his nose.
I see Lake Michigan.
Lake Superior.
Oh. Yeah. I'll give you that.
I see a wall.
Keep your walls looking like new with Platinum's no prep, no prime formula with easy clean, stain resistant finish. Menards and Dutch Boy make transforming your world easy. Go Dutch.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
This Veterans Day, participating Meinekes are offering a free oil change to the brave men and women who've served our country. It's a small way we can say thank you.
Tomorrow on CSN, Toronto eyes the top spot in the East. But your Fire have other plans. Fire at Toronto, tomorrow at 3 on CSN.
Why do protein drinks taste chalky, then get worse? Introducing Protein Shots from 5 Hour Energy. Protein Shots from 5 Hour Energy are smooth and tasty and still deliver 21 grams of protein with 100 calories. They're great for workouts. So great that if you don't get up to 15% more reps, more laps, more distance, we'll give you your money back. Period. Protein Shots from 5 Hour Energy. Great taste, 100 calories, 21 grams of protein.
For 13 seasons, I played for the Bears. But this year, I'm ready to shake up the game in a whole new way with my own show. Watch The Hard Count, presented by Restore, Thursdays at 10:30 on CSN Chicago.
Number 54 stars on CSN. All Bears, all the time.
Go beyond the gridiron and grab the biggest Bears news at CSNChicago.com.
Insider John Moonwallen rushes the field to tackle the storylines that you care about. Plus breaking news, streaming video, team stats, and social media.
For Bears Buzz with Bite, visit CSNChicago.com. Brought to you by Max Madsen Mitsubishi.
Just another look at the Class 1A bracket in case you missed it. We are back with the 2016 IHSA Playoff Pairing Show here on CSN, presented by Wintrust. Class 1A through 4A in the books, and they are on IHSA.org if you missed them. It is time for Dave Bernhard, Steve Susi, and I, Layla Rahimi, to charge ahead and unveil the bracket for Class 5A. So, Dave, the stage is yours.
I think every class has their own personality, and this one does as well. 12 teams, 6-3 in Class 5A, topped off by Sterling, a thrilling win last night over DeKalb. They will be home against Chicago Westinghouse. Woodstock Northridge Central, they're your pair of 6-3 teams. Sycamore on the road, they'll go into the city and take on Solorio. Rochelle, 3-6 last year, after making the playoffs 15 of the previous 16 years, will go to Ridgewood. First time for Chicago Good STEM Academy, a 9-0 record, and you will host last year's 5A champion, the Roadrunners from Nazareth. Two more 6-3 teams meet up as Vernon Hills will be home against UP Bronzeville. Woodstock Marion, they had to win today against St. Pat's just to get into this playoff pairings show, and you made it. You'll be at Peyton. Then it's Hillcrest, a 7-2 mark after going 4-5 last year, first time in 7 years. For the Hawks, they'll be hosting Glenbard South. To the bottom half of the bracket, we should remind everybody the classes 1 through 6, it's a north-south 1 through 16 seed in each of those parts. And it will be Peoria. The Lions 8-1, that one loss coming last night when Galesburg got them on the road. They'll be hosting Dunlap. A couple of 6-3 teams, dangerous Decatur Eisenhower team home against Jacksonville. Better get ready for a big crowd in Washington as Peoria Notre Dame will make that short trip across the river to Washington. Mahomet Seymour at 6-3, they will travel to Centralia. The bottom part, number 2 seed in this southern bracket, it is Highland, only one loss on this season, home against Waterloo. Kankakee, first time since 2009 for the K's in the playoffs, and they will host perennial playoff team Metamora. Morris, a home game at 7-2, hosting Marion, and then it's Geneseo, a 6-3 mark, hosting Triad. Geneseo, a record 40th appearance in the IHSA State Football Playoffs.
Good stuff for sure as we now look at that 5A bracket. And before we welcome in Sterling head coach Jonathan Schlemmer, let's take a quick look into the Golden Warriors locker room before their game last week.
Don't ever take anything for granted. Sometimes we get caught
hey, the biggest game is the next one. This is the biggest game you've ever played in. You've put too much work in. Seniors, think about everything you've done leading up to tonight, okay? And it's not all this season. 4 years of hard work comes to tonight, all right? You have to go out there and seize it. Play like you've never played.
Coach, that was quite a speech to your team. I watched a clip of it before we did this show. I feel like I'm ready to take on the playoffs. Coach, do you feel like they respond to that type of motivation?
Well, we've thanks for having us, for having me, and this group has done a great job all season of, being able to respond to different challenges that they've had, and every week's a different challenge, and they've really bought into what our coaching staff has kind of implemented, and they come to work every week, and obviously the results have paid off so far.
Coach, last night against DeKalb, a must-win for you to clinch that #1 seed. You go to double overtime. You need an extra point to tie it. You sent your kicker out onto the field to tie the game in the second overtime. You brought him back saying, you know what, we're going to go for 2, and you made it. What did that say from you to your team about the confidence you have in them?
Well, yeah, this group is, it's a special group, and, we thought we saw something, something out there, and so we had talked it over as a coaching staff, and, we saw something, and DeKalb, obviously a great team that we played last night and so dynamic. So, we saw something we liked, and we trusted our kids, and the credit really doesn't go to us. They went out and executed it, and, happy for them because, 9-0 is a special thing and something that doesn't really come along too often. So, it's a great win for our program, and I think it's a great, great game for us going into the playoffs.
Coach, part of a difficult league where you're at right now, and you always seem like you're a player in that mix, but this year you seem to take it to another level from the get-go. How can you attribute that to getting from, being maybe in the middle of the pack of that league right up to the top?
Well, our kids just play so hard, and I think something this year that we have is we have a little bit of speed, and we're not the biggest team that you're going to see out there on the field, but our kids play hard, and we've been able to kind of I guess approach every game the same, and really go out there and be able to take advantage of our opportunities. And so, offense, defense, special teams, it's been really good for us. And so, what we got to do is just continue to be who we are and approach games like we have been. And, who knows what's going to happen.
Well, but I think you kind of maybe see a long run in this team, don't you?
Well, you look at the bracket, and I haven't really had a long chance, a lot of chance to look at it, but there's really good teams top to bottom in here, and we just we've approached every game one game at a time, and we've been pretty successful doing that, and so I don't think there's really any need to change at this point. I think we just can continue to do what we've been doing, and we're excited to be at home next week playing Westinghouse, and we know we're going to have to prepare for it, but it's a challenge that I think our kids will be up for.
Coach Schlemmer from Sterling High School, congratulations. Good luck to your team in the playoffs. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for having us.
As we take another look, Steve, what a story out of Hillcrest, by the way. Marquise Cole, the former New England Patriot, comes back to his former team and now is taking them to the playoffs. This is like something out of a movie, guys.
Well, this is a program that had struggled for a long time, and last year it looked like maybe they were on the verge of breaking through. Won their first 4 games, and you're thinking, all right, they're going to get to the playoffs. Proceeded to lose their last 5, and obviously didn't make it at 4-5. But this year they've crashed through it in a big way. They've beaten some teams that are perennially strong in their conference, and they're in the playoffs this year with a 7-2 record. Left no doubt and got themselves in this year.
And they were 1-44 prior to last year's 4-5 record. 1-44 prior to Marquise Cole coming here. And here's the thing I like best about this story. I mean, it's a great story in terms of winning. How about Marquise Cole? That guy, the head coach, will put the pads on in practice and go up against his players. And he tells them, you know what? It's not going to get any tougher than this. Not when you're going out there and you're hitting those receivers at the line. I love that, Layla.
I mean, it's amazing. It's cool because he's a relatively young coach when you think about the average age of head coaches in high school football. But to also know, on that team, you can say to yourself, I'm going up against a guy who played in the NFL right now. I mean, that's inspiring. I don't care what you say.
You are right.
Absolutely.
Fun stuff for sure. That said, it is time to break down 5A as we send it back to Mac Rodewald and his crew. Hey, guys.
I played for a 24-year-old head coach, and he didn't put the pads on. I promise you, this is a much better situation for the folks at Hillcrest. By the way, we also have some Wilson footballs from our good friends at Wilson, the official football of the IHSA State Football Playoffs. You will see those in every single football playoff game. The reason they're there, each one of us have made predictions for Class 5A through 8A. And so we also have shift change over here, as you can see, with these fine-looking gentlemen. Fine-looking gentleman here the rest of the way, Class 5A, to break it down. And you can read his work at edgytim.com, see all the content at csnchicago.com. Edgy Tim O'Halloran to my right, my good friend to my left from the Northwest Herald, the Dean of McHenry County Sports, Joe Stevenson's with us here tonight. And from the Daily Herald, he broke that story this week on more conference shuffling in the western suburbs. Kevin Schmidt from the Daily Herald. We may get into that a little bit. But let's talk about the brackets and start south here real quick, because it's as wide open a bracket as I've ever seen. No 9-0 teams.
Well, it is, and I know we talked at the beginning of the show about some familiar names not in the field this year, and I think 5A has really impacted that way. I mean, Peoria, been a top-ranked team all season, a team you got to like. You know, a team a lot of people haven't talked about, but I like quite a bit, Morris.
Yeah.
Traditional power, playing a very good conference. That's a team to watch out for, and then maybe Peoria people looking at maybe ND down the road a little bit, but overall just a good, strong part of the South bracket.
Talk about the kind of the parity, so to speak. No 9-0 teams down south, but all these teams, there are 5, 6, and 3 teams in this entire bracket that are hosting first-round games. And, Joe, let me go to you. Marion got a huge win today just to get in. Now they get a favorable draw up north.
Yeah, they do. You know, Marion coming out of the East Suburban Catholic Conference, you know it's battle-tested. Yeah. And it was a struggle to even get to the playoffs, but I know the Hurricanes feel pretty good about their chances to maybe make a run now, because they've seen a lot of 7A, 6A teams. They had to win their last 2 games just to get in. They were 3-4 after that double overtime loss to Carmel in Week 7.
They played at Hanson Stadium today. They may play their next week for the first round of the playoffs as well. Kevin, let me go to you. Everyone wrote off Nazareth, and, of course, you see them there in this bracket. I don't think you can write them off anymore.
No, and again, I think kind of what Joe was just alluding to, when you survive a conference like the East Suburban Catholic and can just get in, I think you got to like your chances. You know, Nazareth, a lot of sophomores playing for them. They're not really sophomores anymore. They've gone through this grind of the whole season. And, you know, with this bracket, they may be ready to make another run.
Let's give some credit also to Sterling at unbeaten for the first time since 2005. What makes them so good?
Tradition, support. I mean, that town is crazy football. Love it in Sterling, and again, just a team to definitely watch at the top in the North bracket.
I mean, I like Hillcrest. Glenbard South's another team that could be that could get somebody if they get through that first round matchup with Hillcrest.
Yeah, you know, they've been up and down all year, and if they can get healthy and stay healthy, they've got a shot. You know, they've got a very good running back, Sean Cook, and he's been hurt a lot this year. If they can stay healthy, they got a shot.
And gentlemen, Vernon Hills, they lost last night, but that did them a huge favor to send them home here at 6-3 against Brownsville.
Conference change this year definitely benefited the Cougars, and you're right, a definite name at 6-3 to watch out for.
You mentioned Morris earlier. Morris and Geneseo, of course, they played last night. They could play each other in round 2, and that would be one of those look for the lights and just get there early if you want to go see that game. Layla.
Guys, thank you very much. We are just getting started with the big schools. 6A is next. Stay with us on the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show presented by Wintrust.
At Bob Rohrman Lexus of Harlington, the world's largest Lexus dealership, where bigger is really better. I personally invite you to come experience the Arlington Advantage. Over 600 Lexus vehicles available, and our customer service is second to none.
Right now, get 0.9% for 72 months on all 2016 Lexus models.
The all-new Bob Rohrman Lexus of Arlington on the corner of Route 53 and Dundee Road.
How did DirecTV build the first-of-its-kind channel dedicated to fantasy football live on Sunday? They put together a team of in-studio experts with insightful in-game analysis of Sunday's biggest plays as they happen. Plus the latest NFL.com stats, injury news, and storylines that affect your lineups. Stay connected to the source on your favorite device while your team is on the big screen. All in a Sunday's work. Only NFL Sunday Ticket Max gives you the DirecTV Fantasy Zone. Upgrade your Sundays this fall. Channel 704.
Now we got plenty pride and passion. Yeah, we got many styles and fashions. Michigan to Austin, every part has events to offer, and the fireworks are off a spark. Yeah, Best decision I ever made was coming here.
Standing on your big shoulders, providing you nothing but love for you, stay here forever.
It's been said, nothing you do for children is ever wasted. Since 1911, the Infant Welfare Society of Chicago has provided pediatric, prenatal, dental, and mental health services for Chicago's disadvantaged children and women. But less than 1% of all the patients this not-for-profit organization treats are covered by private insurance. To make a contribution, please visit us on the web or donate your gently used clothing or small household items at our resale shop. The Infant Welfare Society of Chicago, providing quality health care for Chicago's less fortunate children and women.
Hi, this is Scott Darling from the Chicago Blackhawks. I just wanted to wish Lamont High School good luck with their football games, good luck in playoffs.
I mean, we've got some fun stuff going on. First, Ben Zobrist, who we're pretty sure is busy, and then secondly, Scott Darling, who the Blackhawks are also playing as well. But good stuff for sure. As the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show presented by Wintrust continues here on CSN. 5 classes in the books, and now it is time for Dave Bernhardt. Did you catch your breath?
I'm ready.
All right, time for 6A.
Here we go. Prairie Ridge starts it off. Top seed with a 9-0 mark. They'll be taking on Deerfield. How about this matchup in that second game you see there? St. Ignatius, most wins in school history. They will be home against Montini. More about that in a little bit. Boylan Catholic making their 31st appearance, 8-1 record after missing out on the playoffs last year. And they'll be hosting St. Viator. The Lions 1-8 last season. Then rounding out this portion of the bracket, Riverside Brookfield 7-2 and Lake Forest. Remember, top teams in this bracket are home in the first round. Antioch, one of 4 9-0 teams in this particular class, hosting Wakanda. And there is DeKalb. They dropped to a 7th seed here in 6A because of that double overtime loss to Sterling last night. And they'll be hosting Marmion, who nearly knocked off St. Rita last night. Cary Grove, only 1 loss in the season. That came to Prairie Ridge in the first game of the season, home against Wheeling. Lakes is at Grayslake North. Scott Darling will be happy to see that his Lamont Indians got a top seed at 9-0. They'll be hosting Oak Forest. Perspectives Co-op at 7-2. They will have to travel to Danville. The Vikings 3-6 last season. Creek Monee was down in Cahokia last night. They're back home, and they will be home this coming weekend. 7-2 record for the Warriors. The second place finish last year, home against Glenwood. Richards, first time they've ever had a viewing party. Their 7-2 mark gets them a home game against St. Lawrence. Tough first round game. Final 9-0 team is Sacred Heart Griffin from Springfield, taking on a high-scoring Normal West team. Galesburg, thanks to that huge win over Peoria Central last night, they'll match 7-2 records with Hubbard. Shepherd will take a short trip to Chicago Morgan Park, and TF South and Rock Island have to travel across the state for the Rocks in a matchup of 7-2 teams.
Dave, thanks. We saw where Lamont was in the brackets, and their coach, Brett Coy, joins us on the phone. Coach, your team has been on the line between 5A and 6A all season. Your thoughts on ending up in Class 6A?
Well, you really can't control it whatsoever, so you sort of take what's handed to you, and you make the best of the situation.
Tries to fake it out.
Coach, obviously some people that supposedly are experts in this area have had you bouncing back and forth between 5 and 6 all season long. Is that something that you guys are concerning yourself about in the process, or do you just kind of wait for it to shake out and then go about your business?
We sort of just wait for it to shake out. It does make it difficult, trying to find people to scout. Where do you go when you're on that bubble, working back and forth? But like I said, it's just it's out of your hands. So you do as best you can to pick out teams that are possibilities and get video on them, and like I said, when you're on that bubble of 5A and 6A, it just doubles everything for you, your workload.
Brett, you had some close games this year for a 9-0 team. 3 games decided by a touchdown or less, all against playoff teams. Does that say something about the character of your team that you hang in there all the way through those 4 quarters and come out on top?
Well, I think it's always good to be, in those situations. And I think the more of those actually that you have, I think the more it prepares you for, the playoffs. You know you're going to run into, especially in 6A, you're going to run into situations where, it's going to come down to certain points in times that last drive. And, when you've been a little battle-tested through those situations, there's absolutely no doubt your kids get some confidence from that, as well as, it prepares you quite a bit better for those situations.
Brett, I'm going to ask a question I know a lot of coaches just don't like to answer, at least on air over live TV. But 2 years ago, your team made a great run. How would you compare this year's edition of the Indians to that of 2 years ago?
A lot of similarities. One thing that is for sure is, we definitely, defensively is what holds the fort. And I think it was, back 2 years ago for us. It was last year also. And, this year we also feel it's one of our strong suits. But, 2 years ago we had Flynn. We also had Jimmy Kapuris, and we just sort of exploded offensively. We were capable to be quick strike and very explosive. And I think we have that capabilities this year, which, creates a lot of those similarities. But I don't think we're quite as explosive offensively as we were, 2 years ago.
Coach Brett Coy from Lamont, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations to your team as they get ready for the playoffs.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Steve, let's focus on Danville for a moment, an intriguing team in 6A.
Yeah, last year this was a team that went 3-6 and just lost a truckload of close football games. So this year they turn it around and they say, we're not going to leave anything to chance. They've had games this year where they've scored 62 points, 65, and then last night in their Week 9 game, 77. So they're not leaving any doubt in finishing off opponents this year and getting themselves to a solid 7-2 record and a nice placement in the bracket.
Okay, so they scored a lot of points last night. I think one of their most impressive games was a loss.
Yes.
A game that they led and, quite frankly, dominated Peoria Central before losing the last play of the game.
Yeah, in the waning seconds of that football game, Peoria got that victory over them, and Peoria obviously a top seed in the bracket. So Danville has definitely shown its mettle, like you said, in a loss just as well as they had in a win.
Awfully dangerous team, Layla, I think, for anybody to kind of find in their path.
High praise coming from you as well, given the makeup of that schedule. What a talent-packed class. Prairie Ridge a 2 seed, and that goes to show the roads for these top teams like Montini and Lincoln Way West, who will be challenging. And Matt, lots for you guys and the panel to discuss.
Oh, Montini, of course, they're there. We'll talk about them for sure. And Joe, I want to start with you real quick. You had a good story about Woodstock North back in 5A getting in the tournament. Tell me real quick.
Yeah, Woodstock North was a team that started 4-0 and then really kind of stumbled a few weeks. Last night, the Thunder blocks a field goal at the end of the game and then gets into overtime just to get in. They would have been 5-4.
And they wouldn't have had enough points.
And they wouldn't have had enough points. They had 36 points, so they needed that to get in. Now they get the win, and they actually have a home game.
And here they are. So, and they get a home game out of it, believe me. That's just how it works, amazingly enough. Let's start south here. What do you like down south when you look at 6A?
Well, you got the boys over at Sacred Heart Griffin that have plans to make a run, and the team they lost to last year called Crete Moniz, another team that down the road. Lamont, very good team. But, boy, potential matchup second round with Danville could be a very interesting game for the Indians.
I like that 7-10 game because Galesburg, congratulations. The Streaks are hosting a game for the first time in 25 years. They'll be having a home playoff game, which is just cool to see for sure. TF South and, of course, former Lake Zurich head coach Brian Stortz at Rock Island. So there's some familiarity with Rock Island playing those teams in the South Suburban and in the Southland Conference.
Absolutely, and you mentioned a big win for Galesburg over Peoria.
Joe, let's go back up north real quick because Prairie Ridge has been all but rolling through everything last year or this past year. Cary Grove's kind of flown under the radar a little bit, having won 8 straight to get to 8-1.
It has. You know, they met in the opener. It was 26-14 Prairie Ridge, and you know, in the last 6 games, Prairie Ridge has given up only 26 points.
Wow.
2 shutouts the last 2 games going into the playoffs. But you're right, Cary Grove kind of gets overshadowed a little bit after losing that first game. Trojans are playing really well, and they're again are a traditional playoff power.
Yeah, both of them really at this point. Cary Grove, of course, getting to 8-1. How about Montini? Because there they are. If they win, Prairie Ridge has to go to Montini, the side of that Snow Bowl dramatic semifinal win last year.
Who's this, Montini?
Montini, they're good.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
Montini.
they're a good football program.
Yeah, Montini a few weeks ago, we were thinking they might not even make the playoffs, that they'd be part of this list with, Mount Carmel and Joy, all these storied programs that wouldn't make the playoffs. Well, here we are, 6-3, and on a roll. I mean, they were 1-3 at one point. If they can get healthy, another one of these teams, Prince Walker, Western Michigan-bound running back, he's been out much of the season. They've been using a backup quarterback as well. The timing may be right again for Montini to make a run. And if they do play Prairie Ridge, what a matchup that would be.
Edgy, I do not like Boylan, but I like their bracket that they have.
Yeah, you really have to. And one thing I'll add regarding Prairie Ridge and Cary Grove, that win week 1, I had hair back then. That's how long ago. That's how long ago it was. You do not want to play Cary Grove a second time around.
Second time around. We have 3 rematches in this one in Class 6A. Lakes beat Grays Lake North in their first matchup back in week 3. That was at Lakes Lamont, a shutout victory over Oak Forest. And also Antioch and Wakanda. That's a 2-15 game, but Antioch at a 33-29 win in week number 9. That game at Antioch, the Sequats are awfully good and flying under the radar as well in that brand new conference for sure. Layla, we'll send it back over to you.
Well, Matt, thank you very much. And as we go to break, here are the guys from Richards celebrating another playoff berth. And what better way to do it than cornhole?
I would celebrate like that.
they look pumped up. Congratulations, Richard. Good stuff for sure. Hey, we know what happens next, don't we? You break the huddle. Good stuff, guys. Congratulations to your team as the Wintrust presented IHSA Playoff Pairing Show continues.
Every NHL team has just 20 players. That's 12 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 2 goalies. But not our team. These are our wingers. These are our centers. Our defensemen. Our goalies. And our coaches. This is our locker room. This is our bench. These are our rinks. And this is our home ice. During a game, only 20 of us take the ice. But every one of us has one goal.
Scalpel.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just a TV doctor.
I never went to college.
I
don't do blood. But now, thanks to Cigna, I can do more than just look the part.
Is that a foot?
We are the TV Doctors of America.
And we're partnering with Cigna to help save lives.
By getting you to a real doctor for an annual checkup.
So go, know, and take control of your health.
Doctor poses.
Cigna, together all the way.
Hey, take your brother's sock out of your mouth.
Green means go.
I got it.
Green means go.
Uh-oh. Better get Mako. Come in today and take advantage of our $129 bumper special after a $50 mail-in rebate. Mako, America's Body Shop.
Monday night, your Hawks hit home ice against Calgary, looking to put up a firewall and quickly extinguish the flames. Sound the alarm and gear up for the fight with Chevy Blackhawks pregame live, starting at 7 on CSN.
This is Justin Jackson of the Northwestern Wildcats.
I would like to wish Glenbard North best of luck as they prepare for the IHSA state playoffs. Let's go Panthers.
Well, thank you very much, Justin Jackson, and thank you as we welcome you back into the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show presented by Wintrust. To the 7A brackets we go, Dave Bernhard, and the last two classes break down a little differently.
Yeah, 1 through 32 is how we play this now. And we started off with the 1 versus 32. It is a rematch of last year's classic semifinal game between Libertyville and Bradley Bourbonnais. That will be at Bradley Bourbonnais, the exact same spot that Libertyville beat the Boilermakers on a last second in the snow. Did Riley Lees get in? Did he not? Well, he did. Libertyville moved on to the championship game. Following that, it'll be Plainfield North and Highland Park, a couple of 7-2 teams. St. Rita, whew, Mustangs in. That's what noise a lot of their fans were making last night when a game-winning field goal last night over Marmion got them in. They'll face Rockford Auburn. St. Charles North at 8-1, home against Carmel. Fenwick, a 4-seed at 8-1. Their only loss coming to Loyola. They beat a couple of state champs from last year, Phillips and Montini, or this season. They were 3-6 last year. Lake Zurich, 7-2 against Harlan. Lincoln Park at 8-1. They'll be home against Jacobs. McHenry, 6-3, their first winning season since 2007. They only had 9 wins their previous 4 years. They will have to head to a tough place to play, and that's Batavia. To the bottom part of this bracket, again, it's 1 through 32. The number 2 seed goes to East St. Louis. 7-time champs will be playing host to Lincoln Way West. Warriors moving up in class, so to speak, second in 5A last year. There is Justin Jackson's team, Glenbard North, 7-2. Big win over Neuqua Valley last night. They'll be home against Pekin. Simeon on the road at Glenbrook North, and then it will be Willowbrook. They will have to travel out west and take on a Quincy team. Their only loss coming to Edwardsville in the first week of the season. Rolling Meadows, the third of 3 9-0 teams, home against Thornwood. Lincoln Way Central will be taking on Revis. Normal Community at 8-1. They can put some points on the board, home against Belleville West. Hoffman Estates, first time in 22 years, and you will go to Lyle to take on the Red Wings from Bennett Academy.
So you know how the guys from Hoffman Estates celebrated? With pizza. Yes. Congratulations to them on their postseason berth. Excellent meal of choice. Breakfast of Champions.
There is a theme to this show tonight.
Breaking news. People like pizza. Good stuff for sure. As we are now joined by Darren Sunkett, the head coach for East St. Louis. Coach, thank you for joining us. Your team missed out on the playoffs last year because of a teacher's strike. So what does it mean to get there this year, especially as a favorite in 7A?
Well, you know, it means a lot to the program. You know, the kids are very excited about their season this year, and you know, the kids really put a lot of time into preparing themselves this all season. So, you know, for our kids to come out this year and perform the way they have, you know, the coaching staff and the community, you know, we're very proud of those guys.
You know, Coach, a lot of times people hear about East St. Louis, the Flyers, so to speak, and I just immediately think offense first. And indeed, you do have a great offense. But how about your defense, a defense that forces turnovers? Can you explain the mentality that goes into coaching and then playing with the defense like that?
Well, you know, like I say, they always say defense wins ball games. So when we prepared all season, you know, we try to put our better athletes on that side of the football. And we were fortunate enough to have several kids returning off last year's team, and the kids we had were some veteran kids. You know, you look at James Knight, you know, who's the leader on that defense, and he's just done a tremendous job from his linebacking spot. So, you know, to have a leader like that lead that defense, we couldn't ask for much more.
Coach, obviously it's no secret that you're geographically separated from a lot of the other teams in Class 7A. Do you kind of embrace that role of being kind of a little bit maybe an outsider to the rest of the bracket that a lot of maybe the teams in Chicagoland may not know a whole heck of a lot about, that you're kind of maybe a little bit of a wild card heading into the playoffs because people maybe don't have as much recognition with you as maybe some of the other teams in the bracket?
Well, I tell you, you know, it really could be a good thing, you know. Down here in our conference, in Southwestern Conference, you know, we play in a very tough conference, so we have a lot of familiarity with each other. So, you know, not being, you know, from the Chicago area, I'm quite sure it's a lot tougher for those teams down there to prepare for us because they haven't seen us. You know, they read about us and things of that sort. But you know, and until you have to scheme against us and figure out our strengths and our weaknesses, you know, it makes it tough. But you know, it also makes it tough on our end also because we're not familiar with the teams in Chicago. So, you know, I mean, it's a tough uphill climb. You know, we're all coming into this thing 0-0, and I'm sure all 32 teams, we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to win a state championship. So, you know, we're going to go into this thing, and we're going to prepare for Lincoln Way West and try to gather as much information as we can on these guys and look for a pretty good outcome next weekend.
You know, Coach, I don't think a lot of people realize that enrollment-wise, East St. Louis would be a 6A school, but for the last several years, you've petitioned to play up in class. What's your thinking behind that?
Well, we've been a lower school pretty much through the history of East St. Louis. So, you know, we've definitely had an enrollment decline over the last several years, but we felt like with the type of kids we had in our program that we were able to actually compete on a 7 or 8A level. And you know, we speak to our kids about that during the off season, and we kind of ask them. We get a gauge from them. You know, where do you guys want to go? Do you want to play on the 6A level or 5A level, wherever our enrollment drops us, or do you think we can go out there and compete with the larger schools? And you know, our kids take on that challenge. You know, they definitely want to compete against the larger schools and challenge themselves. So. You know, it's good on one end. It could be bad on the other. You know, once you do petition up, you buy into a 2-year deal. So, you know, those kids come behind that group. They've got to be prepared also to go out there and perform the following year.
Coach, we thank you for joining us on the show. Congratulations to your team and good luck in the playoffs. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, Steve, Bradley Bourbonnais had heartbreak in the semifinals last year. The Boilermakers are back, and we see who they're facing.
Well, obviously, this is a great situation for Bradley. They earned the top seed in this bracket. The overwhelming thing about this program, to me, is just the general positivity about it. They obviously have some great players in Iowa-bound Cameron Harrell, but you know, I'll be honest. You know, I have a bad day. I'll go over to Bradley practice and just hang out, and I'll feel better about myself after I go through that with the high energy that they have in practices and just the positive vibes that they have. It's not surprising that the Boilermakers have found themselves at the top of the heat in the seed pile here. You
know, and they were always there, right? And then we watched as the season progressed. Bolingbrook went down. And then we said, okay, well, how about Lincoln Way Central? How will they do against the Knights? They defeat Lincoln Way Central, and then kaboom, the win over Lincoln Way East.
Yeah, that was a kind of a program maker for them. They've always considered themselves to be in the mix in the Southwest Suburban, but they've never quite been able to get right over the top of the mountain and beat one of the elite teams in the league. This was a watershed win for them. This was something that was really special for them.
Now, Steve, I say coaches coach everybody. It's not just the players who always get some good nuggets from them. I know I have too. I'm sure you guys have both over the years. So you go with practice and you tell us what they say.
Exactly. Just a big old pick-me-up. That's all. That's what they're all about. The positive Boilermakers boiler up. Let's go.
I love it. Now we're seeing it released in the brackets.
Boiler up.
Hey, speaking of positivity, let's check in on the Fenwick Friars. 8-1 on the season, and they are excited for their first-round matchup. They are the 4 seed in 7A. Guys, we thank you for sharing your celebration with us. So there are a lot of big-name programs and intriguing matchups in Class 7A. Matt Rodewald, what stood out to you and your panel when you first saw these brackets?
Well, let's start with Fenwick, shall we? Because nobody picked them to be where they are in this season, including this guy over here. Friars quarterback, of course, has a few words for you, Mr. Tim.
I like Edgy Tim, but he had us going 5-4 if we were lucky. So we look at that every week and before every game, and just like we have a group chat of guys, and we always put stuff in there like what people say, and people still don't think we're like serious, and we're 7-1. So it just keeps us working and keeps practices competitive and just keeps everybody, you know, wanting to win more and get better.
So that face is on a bulletin board. You know, there you go. Just throw some darts at you right there.
Hey, you know what? That might have been the most polite diss I've ever had in my career. So thank you, Jacob. Best of luck to you guys.
But you like Fenwick's Road that they have.
I like them a lot. I think I had them ranked before anyone else did. So
there we go.
Got to stick up for myself
Walking
a little
it
bit.
back just a little
Great,
bit.
a very veteran team that showed up and has been great this year.
Well, you know, caught everyone's attention when they beat Phillips early in the season.
Absolutely, huge win.
And, you know, Joe, I look at this bracket. I see winnable games up north for Jacobs and McHenry. You've seen them a lot. That could be a second-round matchup if they do their part there in the first round.
Yeah, you know, Jacobs at 5-4. Coach Bill Mitz has been in the playoffs 34 out of 35 years he coached between Stevenson and now at Jacobs. And they like to run the ball with a power game, but they do have a really good quarterback in Chris Katrinik, and they can throw it too. And McHenry has Nat Zunkel. Coach Nat Zunkel in his first year came from Mercer County and has they've done a great job up there, the Warriors. They had 20 consecutive playoff seasons. That streak ended in 2007. They haven't been back since.
Yeah, they really hit a nasty dip in the program, but it's good to see them back. And Kevin, you know, the nice story that we're also seeing is Hoffman Estates getting to the postseason for the first time since '94. But can they keep that fun rolling at Bennett? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, again, we're talking about one of those power conferences with the East Suburban Catholic, and you never want to see that in the first round. You never want to go against a team like that. Hoffman Estates, they lost 51-0 to Fremd on Friday, and they rested all their starters. They're clearly, you know, they had their 6 wins. They're clearly putting everything into this first-round playoff match because they didn't want to take any chances with guys getting hurt.
I did not like Rolling Meadows' schedule to get to 9-0, but I do like Revis's defense. I think they're a team that can be very dangerous in the postseason.
Again, this part of the bracket, it's kind of wide open. It can be anyone's draw here. You mentioned Bennett, Revis, Rolling Meadows. I mean, you know, you could throw a normal community as well. It's kind of wide open, so I wouldn't count anyone out of this.
And I think it's a tough draw for the Nick 10 teams out of the Rockford area because I don't think any one of them have any of the matchups that they like in 7A.
No, Hononegah getting Fenwick, that is a tough draw.
And you see the rest of the bracket there with Belleville West. Not as bad of a trip. They get to go to Normal as opposed to all the way to the Chicagoland area there. And then Thornwood getting it at 5-4.
What a great story out of Bill Bundy and Thornwood. A great story, them getting in the playoffs. And you know what? It's a matchup. They can do okay here.
Be a lot of speed on the north as well as St. Rita and Auburn. Auburn having to host St. Rita. That should be an interesting matchup out there.
You know, win, lose, or draw when a Catholic League team comes to town, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal for sure. Of course, Quincy coming off its first conference title outright since 1974. Layla, that's awesome. 40-plus years.
Good stuff for sure. Guys, thank you. And with that, the time has come to reveal our final bracket. Class 8A, all of you at home have been patiently waiting. Dave is ready to roll. So, Dave, show us what you've got for the final set of brackets.
I've got the shakes because this may be the most powerful class we have ever seen. In 8A, there are 7 9-0 teams. There are 10 teams that are 8-1. Let's go. Loyola starts it out. Your defending 8A champ, a wild win over Brother Rice last night, and they'll be home against O'Fallon. Here's 2 8-1 teams. Congratulations, Curie. You go 8-1. You're on the road against Oswego East. Brother Rice, that loss dropped them from a 1 seed to an 8 seed. They'll be hosting Fremd. Then Stevenson, with the absence of Mount Carmel in these playoffs, now the longest active consecutive appearance streak in the playoffs. It's Stevenson with 28 straight years hosting Huntley. Home and Flossmoor, hard to believe with the success they had in the last couple of years. It's the first undefeated regular season since 1993 for the Vikings, home against Evanston. Nequa Valley saw their unbeaten season come to an end last night in the loss to Glenbard West. And all they get out of that is they will take on last year's 7A champion, Glenbard West. Oswego at 9-0, home against Joliet West. Edwardsville, their only loss coming to East St. Louis. That, by the way, ended a 30-game Southwestern Conference win streak for Edwardsville. They'll be home against Oak Park River Forest. Down the bottom half of this 32-team field, it's your West Suburban Silver champion, Hinsdale Central, hosting Waubonsee Valley. Taft at 8-1 will have to take on Lincoln Way East. The 2 losses for Lincoln Way East, they've come to unbeaten teams. Home with Flossmoor and Bradley Bourbonnais. West Aurora 9-0, that is right, making only their 6th appearance in 43 years. Their reward, they'll take on a very tough Maine South team. Then it's Barrington, their only loss, coming to Palatine, home against Leiden Township. Speaking of Palatine, we wrap up our 256 teams. Palatine with a loss in the semifinals to Loyola, just 24-22 last year, a home game against Niles Notre Dame. What an intriguing matchup this is. Naperville North. The Huskies, 2-7 each of the last 2 years, including a 14-game losing streak. They have a home game with that 8-1 mark. They'll take on Lions. Then at St. Charles East at 9-0. They were 4-5 the last 2 years, home against Lockport. And then last year's second-place finisher in Class 8A, Marist, and only lost coming to Brother Rice, a home game against New Trier, who defeated Maine South to end Maine South's long conference winning streak. What a class. I'm still shaking.
Dave, great job. I'm excited. And that said, now that we've taken a look at that final 8A look, Dan Hartman from Hinsdale Central joins us on the phone. And Coach Hartman, the West Suburban Silver Conference is so competitive. What are your thoughts on sweeping the teams in that tough group?
You know, it's a tough conference every year. And for us to be able to make it through LT, Glenbard West, Oak Park in weeks was great. So, you know, we're really happy. Playing that schedule is definitely going to prepare us for a tough road in 8A.
Coach, obviously, I'm going to take you back to week 6 here, where you were obviously able to pull off that overtime win over Glenbard West. Such a difficult schedule, such a difficult league, but how much did that win in overtime catapult you through that second part of the season where you had to play so many difficult teams?
You know, I think our players were kind of unsure how good they were, and that win in week 6 against Glenbard West kind of gave them the confidence that they were going to need in, you know, those last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, and it really kind of gave us that springboard to winning that title.
We're seeing some of your highlights. We saw Josh being your quarterback. I feel like Josh is one of those really overlooked players, but what does he do for your team?
You know, Josh kind of, you know, he's the guy that everything works through on the offense. He's the guy that makes all the decisions, and he does a great job making good decisions under fire throughout the season.
Coach, I'm going to take you back to week 1 here. I know scheduling is a challenge, but how in the world did you end up with a team from Utah on your schedule?
Well, it's kind of funny. We really just posted it on the Illinois website, and they contacted us and said they wanted to make a trip out to Chicago and want to know if we'd be willing to play them. And at the time we scheduled the game, they had been in the state championship the year before. So I said, yeah, we'll host. Come on out, but we're not coming back to Utah for sure.
Well, the good news, Coach, is you get to stay in the state. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your playoff seeding.
Thank you.
Now, as we take another look at 8A, Steve, the Blackhawks hockey team has won 3 Stanley Cups since 2010, but tonight we recognize the Blackhawks from West Aurora who haven't experienced that type of success.
Well, you're making a hockey reference. I'll make an Original 6 reference, because that's basically the last time that we saw West Aurora with a 9-0 record in the regular season. 1948, the last time that was accomplished by the Blackhawks.
Wow.
Well done with the reference, the Original 6. Excellent. You know, and it's funny because a lot of folks have said, oh, West Aurora, you know, good for them. When are they going to lose? They're going to lose. All of a sudden, they knock off Huntley. And I'm thinking, well, okay, these guys may be for real.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been kind of difficult to gauge exactly how good they are because the schedule in their conference maybe hasn't been as strong, but that was definitely a signature win for them in this season, kind of stepping up and putting a footmark with them, getting themselves in a situation where they're like, you have to really say, hey, this is a legitimate football team.
You know, I know there's a lot of West Aurora alums out there. They're saying, oh, you know, my team was better than this one, but the bottom line is you weren't 9-0.
No, absolutely not, unless you're pretty old.
I mean, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yes, they were an Original 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love it when we can go back in history. So it is back to toss back to our panel now. Matt Rodewald, we are back from Ward. Take us through 8A with your crew.
Well, I think if Neuqua Valley could go back in history, they would have won that game last night. Because they stumbled last night. Now they get to go home, and Glenbard West comes to their building, Kevin. There's your consolation prize.
Yeah, the only good news there is that Glenbard West only won the 7A title last year.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know, so that's a silver lining there. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best first-round matchup you want to see. Glenbard West is getting healthier. They had a couple key injuries at the beginning of the year. They got a linebacker back today, Eric Samuda. But Neuqua Valley, they got all that star power with Isaiah Robertson, Owen Pichet, a really good defense, probably the best defense in the DuPage Valley Conference. Yeah, that's going to be definite first-round game to watch.
I want to get to Lincoln Way East in a minute, but first, Edgy, Oswego 9-0 for the first time since '95. How good is this Panther team?
Defense, defense, defense. It's going back. It's like watching the '70s Oswego offensively. Defensively, this team can play with a lot of teams in 8A.
And you look at that bracket that they have there. It's a lot of speed on the other side in that second round. That Edwardsville OPRF matchup looks fun.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for Edwardsville. I mentioned defense. They are very strong defensively as well.
Joliet West and Oswego, a rematch actually, because Joliet West jumped in the Southwest Prairie this year.
They're in the same conference. Joliet West, a younger team, but could be dangerous there.
Let's go to Huntley and Stevenson. Can Huntley beat Stevenson on the road, Joe?
I'm not sure if it can, but Huntley has a lot of talent. They have a quarterback in Eric Mooney who can do it. He mainly runs. He can pass the ball too.
Yep.
They have Olaluri Oladipo, one of your favorite names that you can say. Is headed to Illinois next year at defensive end. Their other defensive end, Caleb Jones, is really good. Yep. It's a really good team. I don't know. I'm not sure if they can beat Stevenson or not, but I think they can give it a run.
Just want to point out all the 7-2 teams that are going to be on the road. Lincoln Way East, OPRF, Lyons Township, New Trier, and Glenbard West. They're all on the road. And Marist, we didn't even get to them quietly at 8-1. Gentlemen, I need you to pick up your footballs. And as we do that, let me point out Palatine and St. Charles East, unbeaten for the first time in at least 18 years for both of these teams. I don't think either one of us picked those teams to the state championship. But Class 5A, where do we go first? Who's our 5A win?
Well,
you got 5A?
I've got 5A. I'd like to thank my family, my friends. Very difficult decision, but my team in 5A goes by a motto of 3 words.
3 words.
Fast, hard, finish. I'm talking about the Peoria Lions.
There you go. Peoria Lions. 8-1, they can finish it off. 6A, Kevin.
6A, Joe, this is your stomping grounds.
Yes.
Got to go with Prairie Ridge. Samson Evans, great quarterback. Talk about that defense, 26 points allowed the last 6 weeks, and I love defense in the playoffs.
Joe Stevenson, flying high with your pick?
Yes, I am.
Are you? Okay, there it is. East St. Louis. Did I steal the thunder? I believe I did. All right. Sorry about that, Joe. Appreciate it. For 8A, I think you're going to see that bounce back that Brother Rice has been waiting for, of course. I think we're here to fight some. Crusaders may navigate the most difficult tournament that we've ever seen to win their 2nd state title in school history. Keep singing. Don't stop. That's fine. That's all right. Yeah. There we go. All right. Very good. More singing as we continue on late into the evening, folks.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Good stuff for sure. That was Glenn on our floor crew, who actually has a nice singing voice, singing the Brother Rice fight song. So, Dave, what do you have?
I think Schmitty's a homer.
Yeah, I think what we have going on here is an old case of North bias here.
Yeah. Well, what do you got? No surprise. You can't go wrong with this.
Absolutely
There's
not.
No way. Sacred Heart Griffin.
No. Calling me out.
There it is.
Cyclones.
Oh, okay. And now Kevin takes a drink of water because we have him staggered over there.
It's okay. You were too busy playing air guitar during the commercial breaks.
I'll take care of your lightweight work if you want, Schmitty.
We like SHG.
That's fine.
Good stuff for sure. We thank you so much, especially for the time and your predictions. Any final thoughts as we close it out here, guys?
I love this 8A class. 3A is a power. We have power teams in each of these classes. I think the thing that struck me this year is every class seems to be unique in its own way. You know, it's going to have a little bit different personality, and we'll see how it plays out in Champaign Thanksgiving weekend.
To echo Dave's statements, obviously the 8A class is loaded. I mean, it seemed like all year it was kind of a joke that we were looking at so many 8- and 9-win teams. Eventually, I thought it would level out and we'd have a more balanced bracket, but it never happened because it's such a deep bracket. It's so very good. And then when it comes down to it, the other brackets kind of each have their own unique stories. They've got teams that, you know, haven't been there in a while. They've got other teams that you're used to seeing there that are not. So it's just kind of an interesting field, and each one of the individual classes kind of have their own stories.
Guys, we thank you so much, Dave, Steve, both, for the time and for the insight and the excellent unveiling of their prediction. Good stuff for sure. Now, here's a look at Brother Rice. Glenn, do you want to sing again as they celebrate and watch with us? Guys, we thank you for you joining us and sharing your watch party with us. We've got more coming up, and let's take a look at our first round IHSA playoff game. Lions in Naperville North. That is Friday, October 28th at 7 p.m. It is live on CSN. Stay with us.
Esurance does auto insurance a smarter way. They offer a claim-free discount because safe drivers cost less to insure, which saves money. And when they save, you save. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call. Esurance does auto insurance a smarter way, like their photo claims tool. It helps settle your claim quickly, which saves time, which saves money. And when they save, you save. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat?
1 in 5 children struggles with hunger in America. Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Here's 10 reasons to buy from Willowbrook Kia and Berwyn Kia. You'll always be treated respectfully.
Preferred customer benefits.
Free courtesy transportation.
Extended service hours.
On-site collision center. Over 500 new Kias in stock.
0.9% financing available on certified pre-owned Kias.
Value pricing.
Easy financing. Our low-pressure sales approach.
And that's just the start of all you get at Willowbrook and Berwyn Kia.
Welcome back to the IHSA Playoff Pairing Show presented by Wintrust. It's time to close it out. Layla Rahimi joined by Dave Bernhardt and Steve Stussy. Of course, we also have Matt Rodewald and his crew as well. We want to thank you for joining us for a set of brackets and playoffs that you're really excited about.
I am, but you know, one thing that's making me really sad. Matt Rodewald is no longer going to be with us. He is moving on to better things in Phoenix. Matt has given so much passion to high school sports and the coverage. So many kids, so many parents, so many schools have been impacted by him. We wish him the very best, but we will miss him dearly on behalf of all the people here in Illinois involved with high school sports. Matt, good luck.
Thank you, Dave. It's been fun to cover high school football for all this time, and high school basketball as well. Thrilled to be a part of the coverage, really. That's really what it comes down to, because when I watched as a kid, I wanted to be a part of this. It's simply to give it the big boy treatment, as I always say here on Comcast Sportsnet, to give it that real feel of when you get to the state championship level, you really earned it, and it's something that you've always get a chance to remember. So I want to thank all the guys here tonight for sure, and I'm sure I'll be back to see you guys down the road. No doubt about it. High school blood, the passion just doesn't go that far away. I can guarantee, even in the desert. Promise you that.
Matt, congratulations. You will be missed for sure. And thanks again to the great work you did all night tonight and with the panel as well. We want to show you one more time a game we're bringing you coming up on CSN on Friday night, October 28th at 7 o'clock, Lyons Township in Naperville North. It is an 8A first-round matchup. And you heard Dave Bernhardt earlier, so excited about that bracket just top to bottom. So, for the panel, Matt Rodewald, Dave Bernhardt, Steve Stussy, thank you so much for the time. A fun one for sure, as we got to see a bunch of happy teams. Gentlemen, we thank you again. Layla Rahimi, thanking you for joining us as we get ready to watch the playoffs, guys.
postseason love.